Hope you're doing really well. I hope you're doing better than me. I still have such a stinking cold, but never mind. It does seem to be on its way out, thank the Lord. So I am heading off, as I mentioned last video, to Fuerteventura and Madeira. And when I get back from there, I am going to be cracking on with my winter training. Normally I switch to a couple of gym sessions per week, whereas during the summer months I would focus solely on riding. And then I also end up doing some Zwift racing, normally Tuesday night WTRL league, and I do quite a lot of turbo training. So because of that, I wanted to get a new turbo trainer, basically. I have had a Watt bike for quite a long time. They did a sort of collab with me several years back, and I got to keep the Watt bike. But I have decided that I want to switch things up and I want to try something else. So I figured I'd talk you through my reasons behind switching turbo trainers and kind of share with you the theory behind choosing one for yourself. So obviously there are several different kinds of turbo trainers. You've got the smart trainers that link up with your phone or your iPad or your computer or whatever, and you can control the resistance using, well, whatever technology you want. Then there's the non-smart trainers, or dumb trainers, I guess, which just uses manual resistance, and you would turn a knob to make it harder to pedal, that kind of thing. I'm 100% looking for a smart trainer. I wouldn't use anything else these days. It means that I can, as I said, race, and it also means that any workouts, intervals that my coach at Train Sharp sets me can be synced direct to the turbo trainer, so I can just do exactly what has been prescribed to me without having to manually adjust everything all the time. So obviously you've got several different kinds of turbo trainers, even within the smart trainer category, and the first one I'm going to talk about is the kind of standalone turbo trainer, like a Watt bike, like I've got here. So Watt bike make one like this, Wahoo do one like this, do Tax do one like this? I'm going to have a look. Hold on a second. Tax. Oh yeah, they do. They do one called the Neo Bike Smart Trainer. So these kind of trainers are really good for a number of reasons. The first one is that it's always set up. You don't have to be taking your wheel on and off or setting your bike up. It's just there, so if you're short on time, you can jump on it, you can start pedaling. It should sync very quickly with your phone or the internet or whatever, and you can just knock out that workout without giving it too much thought. They tend to be reasonably good at measuring your power. The Watt bike I know is extremely accurate, and I've been very happy with that aspect of using it. The other good thing about these is that it means there's no wear and tear on your actual bike. Like if you have a fancy carbon framed road bike with a nice group set on it, then, you know, pounding out loads and loads of miles on it, even indoors, it's putting stress through the frame. So I like the fact that on the Watt bike I can do big old powerful sprints, or try to, and I'm not putting any stress or fatigue through the frame of the bike, because you've got to understand that when a bike is sort of clamped in a kind of rigid way, like on a turbo trainer, it's not the same as if you're doing sprints outside just up the road. So I like these standalone bike trainers because it means that you are not putting extra miles into your special road bike. The issue I've had with the Watt bike, and the reason why I want to change, is mainly to do with the resistance. Sometimes with my Watt bike, I'm not saying this is the same for everyone, but with this one, I found that it would randomly put on the resistance right in the middle of a workout, or even in the middle of a TTT, which is super annoying. I'd just be riding along and all of a sudden, wham, it's so hard I can hardly turn the pedals. So wasn't so happy with that. Also, I found that the way you change gear, there's a couple of buttons that could be a bit temperamental. Sometimes it just wouldn't change gear. Also found that some of the bolts were a bit cheap, so if you're switching between riders all the time and moving seat posts and handlebars around, they break. Plus, it's really, really loud. These turbo trainers can be pretty good if there's more than one of you that trains indoors, because you can normally fairly quickly change the saddle height and the bar position, and certainly when Dave and I were together, we marked our different positions on the Watt bike so that we could quickly make sure that it's set up in the ideal way for our different body geometry. Riding the Watt bike feels a little bit different to riding a normal bike, just because of the lack of flexibility, I suppose, lack of lateral flexibility. Also because of the flywheel, it feels a bit different to a freewheel on a normal bike. So you could find there was a bit of a delay, but then once you got up to speed, the flywheel would take over, so you got a bit of extra speed for free. I hope this makes sense. These are just my thoughts, bear in mind. So the next category of turbo trainer, and the ones that I'm looking at now, are again smart trainers, but they're the kind of trainers where you put your bike on it. So there's a couple of different kinds. There's the kind that uses resistance on your back wheel. So you'd set it up so that it essentially is pressing on your back wheel, and that's what makes the resistance and makes things harder or easier. These again can be controlled via an app that comes with a turbo trainer. I think Saris have got their own app, or you can pair it with Zwift or whatever software that you like to use. These ones are good because you know that the bike fits you because it's your bike. So you put it on there, it's going to feel right, and there is a lot to be said for training on the bike that you're going to be racing on. So I kind of like that aspect of it. If you're not going to change your tyre, you might find that it wears your tyre down. When I was using this Saris turbo trainer, I used to have an old wheel with a special turbo trainer tyre on it. So whenever I wanted to use the turbo trainer, I've said turbo trainer so many times, I feel like I'm going mad. Whenever I wanted to use the turbo trainer, I would actually switch the wheel and put my turbo training wheel in there. So there's a little bit of faff, but it's not massive. You're only switching a wheel and putting your bike on a turbo trainer. I mean, if you can't be bothered to do that, well, can you even be bothered to train? These kind of turbo trainers can be awesome if you're on a bit of a budget. They tend to be a bit cheaper. They also are a good bet if you haven't got much space. The turbo training unit only takes up, like that much space, and often they fold down like the Saris. And then you have to store your bike anyway, so it's a bit of a space saving one. Negatives, I would say, well, I suppose there's that tiny bit of faff that I spoke about. Also, you might find that your wheel can slip. So if you're putting down a lot of power, you're a very powerful rider like me. No, if you're a powerful rider, you can find that your wheel slips at the back, and so that's not so great. The third kind of turbo trainer is a direct drive turbo trainer, and there are various different brands that make this kind, and it's the one that I want, I think. So essentially with this one, you take your back wheel off, and the turbo trainer has a cassette already installed on it. So you run your own chain from your own bike around the cassette on the back of the turbo trainer. The good thing about these is you don't get the wheel slipping on the back like with the other trainers I was just telling you about. They also tend to be a lot quieter, which is great if you live in a terraced house like me or a small flat. And you'll probably find that the pedalling action is a little bit smoother. Like the wheel on turbo trainer, you are going to, I suppose, put some sort of stress through your bike. Obviously you're still using your own drive train, although not the rear cassette, but I mean you're still putting stress through your chain and your chain ring, cranks, etc. Obviously within each category you have different levels of products. I mean, like, as in some of them are better than others, whether it's direct drive or, wheel on or whatever. So you will find that some of the premium ones will have a far higher degree of accuracy when it comes to measuring your power. You'll also find they'll be better at simulating gradients. Some of them can simulate a steeper gradient than other ones. We need to look at the max power that these devices can handle, because some of them can read up to, like 2,200 watts. Not that I'd ever put that out, whereas other ones max out at about 1,400 watts. Not that I can ever put that out either. But yeah, I mean, to a certain extent, you get what you pay for. So which to go for? I'm just scrolling through some websites here actually whilst doing this. I think for me it's got to be a direct drive one because they're so much quieter, and I do worry about my neighbours getting annoyed, plus I turbo train when my daughter is asleep. I also like the idea of putting my bike onto the turbo trainer and actually racing WTRL League on a real bike, because I think the way you shift on a real bike, well, I mean, I know it's different to on a watt bike. And I feel like racing on an actual bike when I do these Zwift races is kind of cool. Like, I want to simulate actual racing as much as I possibly can. So going clunk, clunk, shifting down and then sprinting on a real bike, that appeals to me. Well, I've got my eye on a few different turbo trainers here. So when I get back from my trip, let's see what I go with. Like to hear your thoughts on turbo trainers. Do you like racing on Zwift? Do you like training indoors? Am I just crazy for enjoying it? Let me know what you've got. Always fun to hear from you. And of course, if you've got any questions about turbo training that you want to ask me, let me know. I was thinking about doing some kind of ride-along sessions over winter, so let me know if you're into that idea and I'll try and organise something. That might be a members-only thing though. I don't know. Anyway, I'll see you later. Bye.